Hello and welcome back to another out of spec detailing video. Next to me here, of course, we have the out of spec Cybertruck, which we've been doing a ton of testing trying to get this finished looking awesome. But today we're going to talk about a few differences between leaving your truck uncoated and coating it. And we're also going to be doing a demonstration with a DIY person who has never ceramic coated a truck before or any sort of car, and test it out on the Cybertruck here. So welcome back, let's jump into it. Behind the camera here, I have Alyssa. Of course, you have seen her all across the out of spec channels, and this is, I guess, partially your truck, right, Alyssa?
Yeah, I take a little bit of ownership with it, but not much.
You take a lot of ownership of making it dirty, and we know that. So this is a perfect truck to use as a test bench. Now, the out of spec Cybertruck over here has 12,500 miles on it. And previously, we've done quite a few videos figuring out what works, what doesn't work on Cybertruck. The stainless steel finish has been a little bit finicky to work with. So Alyssa, what's your impression so far? I mean, the truck's been gone for a while, but what's your impression been of the stainless steel? Does it look terrible all the time? What do you think?
Yeah, we were talking a bit about this before, and my thought was as soon as it leaves the shop, it's going to look terrible again because we are in high winds, we have dust, we have dogs, we have dirt, we have drool, we have every element that could possibly destroy in this, and a bunch of handprints, paw prints, whatever. As you can hear, the one in the background are a prime example of why everything is nice and drooly. And so to me, it's really hard to say if anything would actually work to my standard of, hey, this is really worth it.
So that's what we're going to be testing today. So from the two coatings that I've tried some other ones off camera. Every single one that I've tried makes it a little bit too orange. It makes the panels look very splotchy. So what we have here again is this panel has been coated with DIY metal coat. Now we're going to get into this a little bit, show you how it's reacting after I think about 5 days ago I put this on. Now the rest of the truck here has nothing on it. It's essentially had my barkeeper's friend, Windex, and it is just purely clean. So it's absolutely unprotected. Now my feeling with this is still this metal coating has a little bit of an orange tinge on it, but from all the other stuff that I've tested, it seems to be one of the best out there. Now, this video may be a little conflicting in reviews, I guess, because I'm still trying to build what my mind thinks is the best way to keep care of the Tesla Cybertruck. Now, do we want to have a panel that looks like this where it's slightly orange but actually has protection on it? Or do we want to leave our panel looking like this, absolutely bare? Now, Alyssa, my feelings are this panel is going to take a lot less maintenance to clean than something like this that is completely naked, if you will. I think water spots are going to be an issue. Of course, bugs are a serious issue on Cybertruck as well, and handprints. Now, importantly, I don't really think the DIY detail does a ton for fingerprints. Now, most cars, even like this Raptor right behind us here, if you actually go in and touch the truck, you're going to leave fingerprints all over it. So for example, I'll just do this. You can see fingerprints there. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Those are easy to wipe away with something like a waterless wash. Now I do want to do the same test over here on the Cybertruck of basically the naked panel over here. So of course, still leaves some fingerprints there. The best way I've found to get those off is just to use ammoniated Windex. Now everybody's freaking out that I'm using ammonia on vehicles. I've talked to a few chemists and figured out that Cybertruck seems to like an acid cleaner, which is the barkeeper's friend. It also has a little bit of abrasive on there to break down all the tarnish, all the industrial fallout on there, as well as water spots and other things. Now, Alyssa, I'm going to bring you back over here one more time and just see what the DIY detail looks like. So you can see this definitely still gets fingerprints, but what I found is this easily wipes away with something like a simple waterless wash. So I would say this particular coating doesn't do anything for fingerprints, except that it's going to be easier to keep clean. Now, I asked Alyssa before we started filming this what she thought about these two panels here. Alyssa, do you think this looks weird, bad? What are your thoughts on that panel compared to the rest of the truck?
I mean, it definitely stands out within the difference of just the color between the rest of the truck, but I feel as though if all of that is all over the truck and you would have never told me that you coated it, I would just think, oh, okay, that's what it is. I wouldn't know the difference.
Sure. And I think a lot of the times my issue with the Cybertruck stainless steel is everything's very inconsistent. It's splotchy, it's streaky everywhere. You just have tons of fingerprints that run down the doors. And every time any product you use, really other than Barkeeper's Friend, in my impression, it just kind of makes it worse or doesn't really do all that much. And it just looks very uneven. So I would say this looks pretty good. And I like the concept of having something protective on there so that water spots aren't going to be a huge issue. We're not going to have issues with, birds pooping on it, even Walter slobbering on it. But my entire plan with this is to essentially do the whole truck today. So we're going to coat all of the panels. Now this is going to be a long-term test. And I think some viewers may be frustrated that I don't have an exact solution, but I need time to figure out what's going to work and what's not going to work. The only way to figure out how long coatings work and last and whatever that may be is to test it. So this is going to be a little bit of a trial. We're going to do the entire truck. Now, realistically, my preference would be to leave half of the truck basically uncoated and see how that looks, and then do the other half completely coated. I talked to Kyle about this, who actually owns the truck here, and he's like, I just want it all one color. So I think that's completely fair. And I really think a lot of folks can do this on their own and leave the Barkeeper's Windex solution, maintain it by hand washing it, doing Windex. So we're gonna be putting this to the test. Now, Alyssa, you've never coated a car ever, correct?
Nope, never.
So that's what I wanted her to come by today with me, and I want to show you guys how easy this coating is to use. We have switched roles now. Alyssa is back here, and she's going to be doing most of the work in today's video. Actually, I'm probably going to have you do 1 or 2 panels, and I can do the rest, unless you super enjoy this. I don't know.
You never know. I might. It might be satisfying. It will be satisfying to remove these handprints. So.
Yes. So I want to do a quick test here, Alyssa. Again, this is the coated panel, uncoated panel. Now, I want you to spray a little bit waterless wash on here. This is Adam's waterless wash. Importantly, in the wrong bottle, it says Matte Detailer. But let's just say you and Kyle are headed out to a Cars and Coffee. I want to see, just quick maintenance here on what that does to these fingerprints versus the coated panel. So go ahead and just spray a little directly on the panel and wipe it with one side. Perfect. So up here, I don't know if you maybe missed this spot, go in there a little bit more. I think it did okay. I mean, I can still see some fingerprints down here and here. And I think that's part of the issue with an uncoated panel. Now, Alyssa, what I would recommend for actually, if you're gonna keep it like this and choose to not ceramic coat your Cybertruck, is to just use normal Windex over here. I think that's going to work perfect. That's what I typically use, but I just wanted to show the difference here. Now back here, let's try this on the coated panel. Let me see this and give it one more little wipe with the towel here.
The towel? Yep.
I'm curious too, because I haven't really played all that much with this. Now down here is... stained. Yes. Down here is really funny. Now, there's an interesting thing that has happened with Cybertruck, and I've had a few commenters talk about this. So if you guys have watched my videos, you've heard me talk of this banding that happens here on the doors. Now, from what I understand this actually is when they go in and essentially weld the doors up here, as you can see in this particular area, it creates a lot of heat and it actually discolors the stainless steel. So we see this quite often on the trucks. Now, the funny thing is you don't see it as much on the Barkeeper side, but once you apply it with the actual coating, you can see it here. And what's really funny is we have these little fingerprints. They're unbelievably hard to see. Maybe you guys can see them, maybe you can't. Yeah, I'm picking it up right there. Kyle originally said, when he brought this back here, he's like, was a little kid in and out of this? Like, what the heck? Why is there fingerprints way down there? Because no large adult is going to be using that. But I would say the fingerprints actually came off easily here.
Yeah,
would you agree?
For sure. Yeah, because this one I didn't use. I used the same amount of pressure, so everybody knows, which is just pretty delicate. Coleton definitely knows to have a lot more pressure. And this one I had to do a couple wipes, as you saw. And this one was just one good up and down. And then I saw this and I tried it again, but I didn't know about the issue. So this was definitely easier, but oh my God.
The duck horn on this is just, they cranked the speaker on this to absolutely 11.
It's especially in this building too.
Echoes, yeah.
But anyways, but overall, would it annoy me to do? No. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's cumbersome to wipe this a couple more times.
Yep. So again, my rationale behind this is a little different. I really think there's two ways you can go here. Again, I personally prefer how the truck looks here. Very bright, very silvery, where this has that slight orange, almost patina look, I'll call it. But I do really think this will be an interesting test over the next 3 months or so to see what a coated Cybertruck actually looks like. Is it going to be easier to clean? Because from my impression, every time Kyle brings this to me or it's just here, it's a nightmare to clean. There's streaks all over the truck. It's a pain in the butt. The front end here with bugs is just an absolute disaster. Now the Barkeeper solution works great. So again, this may be something you need to do quite frequently. I would really love to leave half of the truck uncoated. Again, half the truck coated. I understand the rationale behind that. So maybe if we have some viewers out there that say, hey, I just want to, have my Cybertruck clean like this, bring it into the shop here. I'll do it for you, do the Barkeeper's treatment on it. And then I want to see the truck back every month, every couple of months to see how it actually looks so we can have 2 test samples there. But I would say I'm pretty impressed with this. So Alyssa's going to spray this down, again, comparing these 2 panels. Just want to show water behavior here. So huge difference already. You can see how the water is actually sheeting, how it's kind of holding on in this area and how it's beating up on the coated area. Now, to me, the coating is going to be a sacrificial layer there where anytime tree sap, road tar, bugs, water spots are going to sit on this and actually kind of bake into the panel. So personally, from a detailing perspective, I like this. And again, we're going to be testing this. Kyle's going to go shred this thing. I know you guys are taking it to Moab soon?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has some off-roading events coming up, especially with the summer coming on. So it's going to have a pretty dirty summer, and especially with the heat and that slobbery dog upstairs, it'll go through the elements to see how everything fares. But my one question as a normal consumer, if I absolutely hated this and you put it on my truck, then what?
So let's say we do the whole truck here, and after the fact, you decide, Coleton, this looks absolutely terrible. You're asking how you get it off?
Would my truck be able to come back to normal?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So what you can do to this solution, you can use, again, the Barkeeper's Friend Windex solution to completely remove this. Now, I think in this video, I want to actually show how to do that in case you actually mess up a panel. I think that's an important thing. So Alyssa, quickly, I was drying this panel off and noticed some weird stuff going on. So if you will, spray these 2 panels down one more time for me.
Sorry, here we go.
So what I noticed, what was really weird, obviously you can see the beading difference. When I essentially wipe it with a towel, you can see all of this spotting in here. And the important thing to note, Alyssa, this is deionized water that is coming through my entire filtration system over here. So that's my concern with not having a panel that's coated. And I actually notice it when I come and dry this off. It's perfect. It looks exactly how it should. Now I come over here, I see spots already. That was literally on there for 3 or 4 minutes. What's this going to look like when it actually rains? I think this is going to look like an absolute mess. So I think that's why the coating, although it looks a little more orange, is going to look a little bit better over time.
Yeah, that could definitely be worth it, especially people who are really finicky about that stuff and don't want to wash their car all the time or whatever it might be. But I mean, we run through a touchless wash. That's what all of our cars usually go through. And I know that's probably not filtered water. If anything, it's the same water from other washes. So it will leave this mark. And especially, I think what the big difference is, the big difference right now is that this beads off, but
Yep.
this part stays like this.
Exactly.
So it dries like this, and that's what's leaving those marks. So that's
It's a big difference. I
That's a
mean,
big difference.
literally for it sitting on there for 3 minutes and already having some spotting on there. Now, the weird thing is once it's dry, you don't really see the spots. But if I wipe over it again with kind of a damp towel, I can see all of the spots in here. So importantly, your cars live outside. That's why this is awesome to be able to test. So I really am leaning towards the coating being the solution to go, because doing this every time, I really think every single time you wash the truck, you're going to have to do maybe a light Barkeeper's light Windex situation on the whole thing.
and that's cumbersome. I'm not.
It takes so much time, right? So
Yeah.
this to me already, we're seeing great results here. So
Yeah.
finally, let's get this coated, Alyssa.
Let's get it done.
So we've got Alyssa all set up here with our coating cart. Now this is how I do basically every single vehicle that I ceramic coat. I've got my towels set up here. So these towels, first off, are actually from Costco, Alyssa, because Cybertruck, you don't necessarily worry too much about scratching all that much. It will scratch, importantly. But realistically, you want cheap towels that you can throw away with these, especially when you're ceramic coating. So I've got 2 of the yellow towels here, and this is our actual metal coating. Can you believe how tiny that is?
For this whole truck.
This is a 1 ounce bottle.
For the whole truck.
Yeah, so I actually ended up buying 2 because I want to get the whole truck done. I'm anxious to see, maybe we should start with the new one to see how much we actually go through, because this was the one I was using a little bit ago.
Yeah, let's do that.
Now, the applicators, this is what comes with the DIY one, and they actually use this. Now, they apply it very differently. I watched their whole video on it. They actually apply it in a circular motion, where traditionally when I do ceramic coatings, I work in a T motion. Now, I'll show you how to do that later on. But we're gonna test both of these applicators to see which one Alyssa prefers and talk a little bit about which one I would prefer. Now, coatings, Alyssa, are all down to preparation. Your coating is only as good as much work as you do before you actually apply it. Applying it is an important part of it. And again, I just asked Alyssa off camera, have you ever watched me ceramic coat a car? She has 0 experience. So I really want to see her thoughts on this. Now, this panel, again, Alyssa, before you would do this prep wipe down, I would do the Barkeeper's Friend Windex solution, get it absolutely perfectly clean, get all your industrial fallout off, water spotting, any streaking, all that yellow tarnish. So that's where we're at now. So over here, this product you have in your hand, this is DIY detail panel prep. Now this is very important step to do. So Alyssa, what this essentially does is removes all the oils on there. So if we had any Barkeeper's Friend on there, if we had any sort of fingerprints, whatever it may be. Now there's 2 ways you can do this. You can either spray down the panel, or you can spray it onto your towel here. Now one of the most important things, Alyssa, when you're detailing a car is to fold your towels into quarters. So like you have there, I see people all the time take the large towel and essentially just do this all over it. That creates streaks, so you're fine there. Perfect.
Big square.
Yep. So I'm gonna have you put the panel prep on the entire door here. So this evaporates quick, so maybe do that section up there first. And I'm just gonna walk Alyssa through this, essentially as you guys would be doing this at home. Totally fine to get on all the rubber and everything like that, but you can see how quickly this stuff evaporates. Now Alyssa, flip your towel here. I just wanna see what it looks like. Nothing on there. If you're still getting black, do another wipe down on this. So you're looking pretty good. I've already actually done this one time, but I just wanna show the full process on camera. That finish just looks absolutely awesome. I really, really like it. And then make sure, of course, that we get down here and don't have any water on it.
Gotta get low.
Got to get low with Cybertruck. We are all the way in entry mode right now, if you're curious. I would say it probably does help to have the truck a little higher, but I'm gonna make Alyssa do it in this form here.
It's okay.
So I think we're wiped down there. You're pretty good. You've got all the panels.
Pretty clean.
Great, nothing on there. So next, let's jump over into this. You can toss the towel down here. We're not going to be using that one anymore.
Discard
So
it.
right in here. Perfect.
Okay.
So I believe, which one is the full one here?
Oh God. Which one opens well? This one had a spoof.
So that's probably the new one.
This one, no, this one's harder. Unless you're like Mr. Really Seal. But this one didn't spoof, and this one's all crusty, so.
So that is the old one.
Good to know, crusty one's old.
So first off, one thing you're gonna notice with this, the smell. It is smelly stuff. And when you're applying it to a panel, you feel a little head rush. So make sure you're doing this in a ventilated area. We've got fans going everywhere here.
All over.
So which applicator do you want to try here first, Alyssa?
I'll try the little circular guy.
Okay, so fingers go through there. Now, when we're doing this, what they did on the DIY detail, which I would say you could definitely do here, is do the entire side of the truck, but I want to keep it small and do a panel by panel. Now, when you're first applying coatings, very important to do that. Don't get ahead of yourself and try and do the whole truck, and then you're getting into a disaster where you can't actually get the coating off.
That would be me if I didn't have anybody instructing me behind camera.
Let's flip this over here and let's apply a few drops here to the top all around the applicator. That's probably a good amount to start. So we're gonna set it back over here, and you need to put the cap back on because once it's exposed to air, it essentially starts curing in the bottle, which is why you get those crusties on there afterwards. So I want you to start up here. Now the tricky thing is you wanna keep as much as possible off of the rubber, off of all the plastic. So let's just go in and see what you think of this.
Okay, here we go. Ooh. This is how I would do it. I would dab it all over and then go in and do it. Because dot, dot, not a lot, like we learned in preschool.
So you can see we definitely got quite a bit of solution on there as it's literally dripping over here. So work this in. What you want to do is try and get this coating, Alyssa, as even as you possibly can. So you don't want it super thick in an area. You don't want it super thin.
Honestly, for me, I'm going to open this up.
Yep, and that's probably a great solution, especially on the doors here.
So, and then this also opens up that. So
I'd go slow with it. You don't want to put a ton of pressure on here. No. Exactly, perfect.
Okay. Just slight massage. Okay.
So notice down here how that just kind of streaked. We need a little bit more for sure.
Yeah.
So go back in there. Now you got to undo it. Would you like a chair or do you?
No.
Okay. Okay, probably good.
Okay.
This is fun watching somebody else do a car here. It's normally always the opposite way around.
Doing his work for him. Now I think this is a good example because I mean, you buy your Cybertruck, you're already what, $100,000 in debt?
This is $123,000.
This one is 120, yeah. And it's like, okay, well, how can I save some money and not have to like be without my truck for one, and then also, you know, just save $1 here or there.
Yep.
And if I wanted to do it myself, would I have the confidence to do it myself?
I mean, from what I'm seeing so far, it's going on very nice. Now, one thing I would really recommend, I can show you some different techniques once we get to some other panels on how to do this a little bit more consistently. It's already looking really nice. Now I can see, Alyssa, here we've got a little bit of a low spot, I would call it, so just work it in. The other thing you guys can do is work in a crosshatch form. So essentially work down the side of the door going east and west, and then come back at it and do it north and south. That's gonna get the coating spread out nicely. Now, Alyssa, is it feeling tacky? Is it feeling sticky? Is it kind of smooth?
It's getting a little bit stiffer. It's not as glidey, I guess, would be my explanation of this. But I would say the one really hard thing is to get into these.
So what I'd recommend doing is getting the bottom of this door first. We'll close the door and then get that edge. So you're definitely going to need more, as I saw that kind of grab there. Once you feel it get a little sticky, we want to apply a little bit more on here.
Yeah, and I shouldn't need much. That should be enough. Okay.
All right, ready for the door to be closed?
Yeah.
So let's close the door here. Dang, you actually got close to that edge pretty well. So again, once you start getting comfortable with this, I would tell you to probably do both the adjacent panels at one time. So essentially you could do the door here and the front fender. And then once you get comfortable, you're probably good on that, Alyssa. You probably work that in enough, I would say.
Even though it's still a little damp looking?
You don't want to overwork it. You
Okay.
want the coating to get in there, and it's going to start to cure. Now,
Okay.
we need to talk about flash times. So, do you have any sort of clue what a flash time is? Okay. So, flash time is essentially when you install the ceramic coating to when you wipe it off. This is not a self-leveling coating. Now, Alyssa, self-leveling coating, essentially you would apply on here, leave it alone. That's what Protect-A-Clear is. And the issue I was running into is the more you worked in the product, the more their foam applicators would leave lint everywhere, and then it's getting sticky in areas. It was just a nightmare. So this one is a wipe on, wipe off. Now, what we're gonna look for here is rainbowing. It's actually gonna be about 5 to 10 minutes. I would say 5 on the absolute minimum. You can start to see it do it a little bit. Now, not criticizing here, but I would tell you this panel looks a little uneven. It's your first
100%.
panel.
Yeah.
It's your first panel. So we'll do some tips and tricks. I'm gonna do this panel back here while we're letting this cure, and I'm gonna show you how I would ceramic coat it, and maybe you can kind of get some ideas for the next panel.
Look up.
And there's a big Walter up there. Yeah. So we're gonna do this small little triangle back here, and I'm gonna show Alyssa some tips and tricks, and for you viewers on how to do this more consistently and more even, because definitely looking at this, it's starting to turn colors and you can see it's not quite as consistent, and that's totally okay. This is the first panel you've ever done. So again, we'll talk about, you still have to wipe it off, so don't freak out yet. You didn't screw anything up.
So I want to make one point for people like me who've never done this. So you're saying how like crappy this looks, you wouldn't want to tell people to continue to try to make that look.
You don't want to get too much on there. So I just want to show you a demonstration back here on how I would kind of work it out. Now, this section down here, we're gonna leave. We left some water spots on there just to see what it'll do towards the end of the video. But let's quickly do the panel prep here. So I'm just gonna spray this down. And we're good to go. You just need to make sure that this panel is completely clean and dry. So Alyssa, I'm gonna use the other applicator that I'm used to using. So I'm gonna crack this open here. I'm gonna apply a little bit of a line there. So I would say that's a pretty good amount.
The crusty one?
Nope, I put the crusty one over there. So here is the way to do a T coating. So essentially one stripe down the middle and then you work it up and down. Now what you're gonna see this do is it's going to apply more evenly because I'm picking up coating as I'm going up and down there.
And is that, so this is the sponge that comes with the kit?
Yep.
So you're saying possibly order other sponges that can be found where?
So I'll leave them in the link in the description below, but let me show you. You can do the same exact thing. I'll do it on this back panel. Now, personally for me, being one-handed, this is a little trickier to do because I kind of have to balance this. So this is an anomaly for me, but we got that back on there. So what you can do again, come down the middle. See, this is the tricky part when you get into this is like this adjacent panel here, you would definitely want to coat this when you're doing the whole thing. Now, I'm immediately going to tell you, I don't like this applicator. This is just my personal preference, but it seems to be almost harder to install. It's a little bit less even because you have such a large surface area.
Yeah.
But see how much more even this is looking here?
Yeah.
So we'll have you do that on the next panel, and I think that'll help a lot. So applying a strip here, you can also do the same thing, Alyssa, where you can come down here and do all the edges first, do a stripe in the middle. Because the problem is, if you do it this way and get it on your adjacent panel here that either you haven't coated or already coated, when you go to wipe this off, it's gonna kind of start being a mess. So we'll get into this. It's a little bit tricky the first time you do this. Definitely, but I'm already seeing this is rainbowing quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
So definitely hasn't been 5 minutes. We do have a lot of airflow in here. We've got the fan going upstairs. So my kind of personal preference for doing coatings would be to turn everything off, but I think it's okay in this situation. We're inside. You also want to make sure that you're not doing this in the direct sunlight. So if you can, pull this into your garage. Now, Alyssa, over here, I'm gonna have you wipe this panel down. It's still coming off perfectly fine. So you can always do that just to see how it's actually working on there. Now, I'll run you through this entire process. So let's switch again. I think this coating's ready to come off. As you can just definitely see, lots of colors coming out of this. And then we'll let this one cure and sit. We've now switched again, and this coating's ready to come off. So Alyssa, over here in my little cart. Now, I like having some sort of a cart so you can keep your towels clean. They're not sitting on the floor on top of a dirty bench. So what I like to do is have towel 1 and towel 2. So that's gonna be your first towel, brand new towel. So there's a few ways to remove coatings. You can do one of two things. You can work in straight lines or you can work in a circular motion. Now, Alyssa off camera was asking me, is it okay if it's not perfectly even? This section right now, Alyssa, we're gonna sort of level the coating. So we're gonna be kind of moving it around. It's gonna come out very smooth and you're not gonna have issues. Now, my preference would be for it to apply a little bit smoother. So not a big deal there, but definitely it's not the end of the world is what I'm getting at. So I probably want you to start over here. I like to work in one way. So I want you to work here and get this edge of the towel kind of in here. So you're gonna work just like this on it and just gently wipe it away. So that's gonna be your first wipe.
Okay.
How does it feel? Is it sticky? Is it somewhat smooth?
I think it's smooth.
I would say that's good because once a coating gets really sticky, there's a lot of coatings out there, specifically SiO2 based ceramic coatings, typically made for paint, that they literally feel like you're wiping honey or molasses off them, and it is not a fun feeling, especially when you're working on a soft black metallic paint like this or non-metallic. Now, what you can do here as well to get into this mirror is just pop that out there.
Yeah, so the edges, I would say, are the most difficult. But for somebody who's applying this, would you say, I mean, how big of a deal would it be if I do get, I mean, I am getting coating on this rubber part. I mean, what is that, what would that initially do?
The hard part is it's not ideal. And this is part of the challenging thing when you get into doing ceramic coatings. Like, I'm thinking about this Raptor back here. On the grill here, I don't want to be getting paint coating on this plastic trim that I am up here. So that just comes with time and doing this.
So maybe for somebody like me, if I really am anal and I really want to do a good job, maybe thinking about taping this off.
Absolutely tape that off, and I would either recommend that, especially on the fenders here, because it's going to turn these very dark colored. You can definitely tape them off, or you can actually remove the fenders.
Yes, I mean, you can dismantle this truck pretty easily, we've learned.
So one thing I'm noticing here, and I don't know if it's...
Yeah, it says poof.
So that's totally fine. We're going to be doing multiple wipe downs on this. Is it getting sticky?
No.
Okay, so what I want you to do with this towel here is, I don't want it bunched up. I want to kind of keep it in this way and use more of my hand here. That'll help pick up quite a bit more of it. Now again, when you're doing adjacent panels, it gets a little tricky. So make sure, let's keep that unfolded again. You want to kind of keep it even so you have two different sides on there. Does that feel better?
Yeah, I'm getting a lot more done in a shorter period of time. And also, I mean, I think for me, one of the biggest issues is you can't really see the work that's being done.
Yep. Well, you can definitely see it from back here because this panel is
step back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I think if you weren't coaching me behind, I would be constantly stepping back to see if what I'm doing is even, if I'm missing a spot, because I ain't perfect at this stuff. And
this is your first panel, and it's not going to be perfect. So that's why, exactly why I wanted you to come in, because a lot of people have never done this before that have purchased a Cybertruck, and now they're like, I don't know where to take my truck, or a lot of shops, Alyssa, I don't even think are actually coating trucks right now. Like, we're one of the first getting out here, even testing this metal coating on here. And from what I can tell you, this is definitely looking splotchy, but we have a lot more work to do. So what I want you to do with that towel, you're doing great. I want you to flip that over. So now we have side 2. So now you're gonna do another wipe down on this.
Whew.
It's a lot of work, I know.
It is a lot of work. And I'm so ADHD, I'm just all over the place. So that's my
totally
own problem.
So, and as I can already see, that second wipe with our dry side there is looking way better. Now, the important thing here when we're using these towels, why I like to fold them into quarters, is essentially we have 8 different sides on the towel. So once this gets a little too saturated with the coating, you flip over to a fresh side and keep going. So that way it's making your life a lot easier. Now, I would say if you want to use a new towel every single panel, completely fine with you. They're very inexpensive from Costco, these towels, and really like them. But you're looking pretty good here now. That second wipe already made a huge difference.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't do up here yet.
So, and again, I can see we've got some coating over here. That's not a big deal because we're going to be doing this panel. So I would work small. Definitely now doing this, applying that first panel, would you ever try and do an entire side of a truck at once?
No.
Yeah. So that's one of the biggest things. People get in so much trouble doing that with coatings. Now, the funny thing is ceramic coatings, when the flash time is, Alyssa, is all dependent on where you're at in the country. So if you're down in Florida right now, it's 90 degrees and like 80-90% humidity.
Yeah.
The coating is going to flash totally different than it is here in Colorado,
and
where
flash
it's
means
flash when it's ready to come off.
okay.
So what you're doing right now is the flashing time, so the time that you stopped coating till now.
Okay.
So I would say definitely seeing quite a bit down here at the bottom. So what you can do now, if you feel you've done your second wipe, is come back with your really dry towel now. Now, what I'd probably recommend doing on this one is really getting in there.
Putting some elbow grease in there.
And get a little bit more aggressive with it.
Okay.
It's not perfectly smooth, and that could definitely be towards a little bit of the application with it. So I would say it's not the end of the world. Let's get this panel wiped down and see if we can see a huge difference, because I can already tell you this one is ready to come off. You can see how the colors are changing.
Okay, so when it becomes that rainbowy, that's when you want to...
Exactly.
And rainbow doesn't mean pretty color rainbows, it's just different colorations than what you normally... Okay.
Exactly.
See on the
So
truck.
coatings are all different. Now, paint coatings that I use, because I don't use SiO2 based ceramic coatings, actually sweat. So it looks like little beads all around the truck or whatever it may be. Now, this is going to rainbow, so very different coatings than that. But let's switch now. I'm gonna wipe down this panel and see how it looks. So this one's ready to come off for sure. So I'm gonna quickly just hammer this out. That's our first side. Gonna flip. So what are you thinking this looks like compared to the panel you did, Alyssa?
Much better.
So quite a bit more even, I would say.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. Again, that's your first panel you've ever done.
I
So
mean,
that's
it doesn't look terrible.
look
It just when you walk around it, do a little over check, then it gets a little.
and that's
wonky.
totally fine. This is not meant to be like, let's bash Alyssa. She's doing a great job for the first panel. I've screwed up so many coatings in my detailing career, it's not even funny. So this is my third wipe. If I see anything that I don't like here, last one. That's really what I want this panel to look like. Looks absolutely smooth.
Yeah, much better. Professional, amateur.
And that's totally fine. So
Yeah.
what I want to do next is we're going to get Walter back in the truck. He's having a heyday upstairs. But I want you to now coat the hood. This is, I would say, the easiest panel for you to probably work on. And I want you to test out the new applicator that I used. See if you can feel a difference in between there. And then actually use the install that I would do on here and see if we can make this look a little bit better. So Alyssa is now ready for the hood, and we're going to be using this applicator that I prefer. So I'd try and do a single line maybe down the middle.
Yeah, I think I got that much. Yeah.
That's good there.
Yeah. Oh.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Okay, so Coleton taught me a little technique. I 100% believe I might already mess it up.
You're totally
I got
fine.
A dory brain.
So we have quite a big panel here, Alyssa. So I told her to work in 2 sections here. So I want you to start here and move this across to the middle. Okay, and then I want you to rotate this and then make a stripe all the way down. So that's going to be there. And then across the top here under the window, trying to not get it on the window. Perfect. Okay, and then you're going to rotate one more time and come down, and then you're going to do kind of a zigzag. Yep, you're fine. Exactly.
Yeah, this is a lot rougher feeling.
Rougher feeling. Okay,
Yeah.
so that is probably because of the rock chips that we have here on the hood. So you already need more product, I can tell you that, just seeing how it's going on. So see how it immediately started to rainbow? That means you need a little bit more. You want this to feel a little smooth. Boom, good.
Whoa. All right. So should I go over this section
I
again?
would get this edge here, come all the way down to here, and then boom, go back up again. Okay, so that's our north and south. Now I want you to cross hatch it, meaning what? We're gonna go east to west now. So you can see what a difference this looks like compared to over here where it's already started to rainbow. Perfect. See how much better that is already? It looks so much smoother. I hope you guys can see that on camera. Way smoother. Nice job.
Thanks.
Yes, looks perfect. That's exactly what we're going for. Love it. All right, you ready to do the other half of the hood too?
Yeah.
Cool.
No instructions needed.
Let's do it at the same time.
All
also, Pete Walter up there. Hello, buddy.
Okay.
We have a 6-ring circus between your dog and Kyle's dogs. You have 3 of them. I have 3 golden retrievers. It's a mayhem when we get all the dogs together, especially.
But it's fun.
Oh, it's absolutely the best.
They all love each other. They tolerate Walter being so big and bulky.
So I'm going to give you no instruction on this one, and I want you to do this side. Okay?
Okay.
Good start.
Oh, you did one thing wrong. I'll go ahead and do this.
It's okay. Perfect. She's already got it. This is exactly what you need to do.
And I think I'm going to just go ahead and make this line
And you
already.
definitely can. Remember I was saying that on that rear panel there, you can do kind of all of the sides first.
Yeah.
And then kind of fill in the middle. How's that feel?
Yeah, you get the hang of it over time. I mean, it's definitely helpful to have a professional in my ear, because if I had some YouTube tutorial, no offense to YouTube, love YouTube, but I am the type of person that doesn't watch a video in its entirety and doesn't really listen to instructions. Me and
Looks
IKEA.
so good. First off, great job. Now, you did... What? See, she's learning already.
But I need more.
Coating is, do a little bit more. I wouldn't do a ton because you felt it get sticky there, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. That's enough.
Not really sticky, I would say. It's more of a stiffness.
Tacky?
Tacky.
Yeah. Okay.
You feel a difference.
Exactly.
It can't really, I mean, my words are all mixed up and whatever.
Coatings are very much down to feel and watching how it applies. And for me, it's just, I know how coatings go on. So the Cybertruck's been a little different for me. Actually, Alyssa, you'll find this funny. The first coating panel that I did with this truck, I completely screwed it up. Absolutely screwed it up because I left it on too long.
Yeah.
I put too much on, and I actually left it on for 40 minutes because I didn't see the rainbow because I put too much on. So you kind of want to go in these a little bit lighter layers. Now, I'm betting you we kind of got this one a little thick by applying a little more on there. What are you seeing in here?
Her.
Yep, some dog hair. That happens when you have a Walter Rooney upstairs. So what I do with this is if you get a little weird section, just go straight up like that.
Okay.
That'll cure out totally fine. But this is looking great. You did a nice job on this panel. Happy with that for sure.
Much easier.
So are you feeling comfortable with this, or is it kind of a lot?
I think for me, it's learning all the terminology. And I mean, obviously your terminology is everything's nerd level 9,000.
Yes.
I don't understand half the stuff either you or Kyle or anybody on our team says. I just kind of smile and nod and go along with it.
Smile and wave, boys.
Yeah, I understand a lot, but then once you guys get the confidence thinking I understand more, you dial it in more, and I'm like, okay.
Well, I'm telling you, you're doing great here. This is the improvement from this door to the hood is exactly what you want. So I would say if you guys are probably, say you're trying this for the first time, what I would do is either start on that one. That is quite a large panel. Maybe even start on this little guy up here. This little panel that runs all the way basically above the glass there is probably a great panel to try. And actually the first time I started working on Cybertrucks, I knew that this was the easiest panel to replace. And I was terrified that I was going to actually harm the stainless steel on here.
Yeah.
So that's the panel I used. I think that's a great panel, but I think we'll kind of let and see how this goes. Now, my feeling with this, we applied it a little thick here, which is totally fine.
Yeah, definitely a lot thicker on this than this side. Maybe, I don't know, but the sponge, so I think a huge difference with the sponge really soaks up a lot more. So I feel like I actually used a lot more product on this versus using this. If I would have started off with this, I wouldn't have had enough product on this. So
there's a cool thing about this applicator, and this is, again, nerd level 9,000. Underneath this basically microfiber here, it has a hydrophobic layer
I can feel like a plasticky kind of
exactly. So what that does is not allow it to soak into the foam at the bottom. So it keeps basically the coating suspended on top of it. Whereas this is literally going to soak up all of your coating. You're going to go through way more. And do you have any idea how much that bottle is there?
I'm gonna guess like 200.
No, not even close. $90.
Okay, good.
$90 an ounce. That's still a ton of money.
That's a lot of money to entrust and say, yeah, I'm DIYing this and good luck.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. It is expensive, but I would say, to me, it seems like the way to do this, Alyssa, is to apply a little bit thinner and get not necessarily that quick rainbow like you had over here. This panel, I felt like you did perfect. This kind of left side half of the driver's side.
And this one is a little thick.
So when I saw you apply more when you were going to go the opposite way there, probably put on a little bit too much, but that's completely fine. It'll still come off.
Yeah.
Now, if you do over apply it, don't wait 40 minutes like I did to let it rainbow, because you have so much more volume of material on here. You want to get it off still within that 5 to 10 minutes. Again, it's just going to take you guys, if you're doing this at home, DIY, it's going to take you some time to figure this out. And I will tell you, what's funny is if you're in a garage, let's say you have like a fan upstairs, this side's going to react totally different to the other side because of the airflow. I used to have a garage when I first started detailing that I essentially, in the way back, had a heater, and up front, it was always freezing cold. Coatings would apply completely differently. Like within taking it off in 20 minutes versus 5 minutes up front. It's totally different. So you're doing a great job here. We'll get this wiped down in, I don't know, let's say 4 or 5 minutes here. I think maybe a little long, but since we applied a little bit more, we're okay there. Again, the flash time on these gets really confusing. It's always confusing with figuring this stuff out. You just have to kind of feel it and see how it's looking. If you start wiping on it, Alyssa, and it feels unbelievably sticky, like you're trying to wipe off honey, you waited way too long. Okay. So that's why I'll kind of come in here and do those little sections and see, is it still a little tacky, or is it still coming off smooth? So we're looking good. Let's just wait on this one, see how it goes. So we've waited our time here now, Alyssa. Now, again, importantly, we're not seeing rainbowing. So I'd say applied a little bit too thick. So probably recommend going a little bit more like I did back here on that triangle area. I think that's the perfect amount of coating. Now what's going to happen is your applicator is going to slightly get more soaked. So naturally you're going to put less and less on as you move throughout the truck here. Now I want to show you quickly how to get kind of this area up here without smearing the coating. So I will grab the towel from you here.
Okay.
And I guess I can film it.
Okay.
So what I want you to do is to take your corner, and it's feeling perfect, and you're just going to, like you had this, get it a little bit more scrunched in there, and you're just going to work it all the way across there.
Okay. Now I can smell it.
Yeah, it's stinky stuff, isn't it?
I wouldn't say it stinks. It has this specific smell that reminds me of something within my childhood. I'm not sure what I was doing as a kid.
Your childhood.
No, it just has this very distinct smell. I will remember it at midnight.
Okay, fair enough. Well, just text me at midnight and let me know what it is so we can tell the viewers. So this is just all wiping technique. So look at the difference here, just quickly. Hold on real quick.
My circles are too small.
Big difference. So what I'm seeing you do here, I want you to use a little bit more of this corner, and you're just going to kind of
more
work
corners,
it.
Less of my fingers, I think is what I'm doing.
Yeah, so you're doing good. It is just, it's all about technique with this stuff. As you can see, this is still looking like a mess. So we have a lot of coating to get off. I want you to work a little quick because I can feel we definitely got way too much on here, which is totally fine.
Okay.
Keep wiping on there and let's see how this panel turns out.
Yep, you're right. It is getting sticky.
So it's the reason it's sticky is because it didn't rainbow and there's too much solids on there, which is basically the ceramic coating. So got to work it a little bit thinner. And I actually, while Alyssa was putting Walter away, did this panel down here and I got it too thick. So I think you really have to go very thin on it. So again, even myself, I've been coating cars for 10 plus years now. Every single coating is slightly different. And then we're also dealing, it's very humid in here actually as well.
Yeah, I feel like it's just changed a little bit, but I don't know. Yeah.
Well, we've got the door open. It has been a little windy, rainy outside, but I can already see how much nicer this panel is looking as Alyssa's doing now her second wipe. It's really starting to come out, wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, the bigger circles are a lot friendlier.
Bigger circles, for sure. So I'll probably do the third wipe down here. So important to make sure areas like this that we're not missing, those are always the trickiest. And as you can see over here in this corner. So I'm going to take this towel, get right up in there, again, using that same technique. Typically, actually, I didn't even tell you this, Alyssa, when I do coating wipe-offs, I like to start on the edges first and then kind of work my way into the middle. So mistake on my part, but you're doing great there. Ah, it's looking nice. It's looking really nice.
Not too shabby.
So I'm curious, what do you think of, so your second panel, what do you think?
Number one, I would definitely start with this. Not only is it just an easier surface, but you're also able to look down on it.
Sure.
So you're able to kind of see what you're doing versus when I was over here, the light's a little bit different. So it was a lot harder to see. And for a beginner, I think
start on the hood.
Yeah, well, I mean, or in this other area up here where you can really see and you're not bending down and contorting and doing whatever, but definitely, I like that surface the most. That was.
So Alyssa, what do you think about the coloration on this? Good, bad, what are your thoughts?
I still think my point stays the same. It's that I wouldn't really notice the difference if I came in, dropped my truck off with you and came back and said, oh my God, that's a different color. It's not like you're dyeing your hair from blonde to black.
Sure. Totally agree.
So it's not a huge, massive difference to where the naked eye would notice. I mean, once you mention it, sure, I would kind of see it, but it's not crazy.
It looks very even to me. And that's one of the biggest things I wanted to find here with the coatings is, can I get a coating that just looks even throughout? Now this panel over here, I want to re-strip this and I want to redo this. Now, that's no offense to Alyssa. Again, this is her first panel. I don't expect this to be perfect. Now, I still think there's a lot going on, Alyssa, on this panel that is not caused by you. I think this area in the middle looks a little splotchy to me. I would say that's probably down to install. But yes, this banding you're talking there, the coating definitely shows it more. And I truly believe that is from them welding it, and the stainless steel is starting to turn colors there. So I think you're still gonna see this. Again, I hate these fingerprints in here. I've tried barkeepers on it. I can absolutely not get that out. So I kind of think that's permanently in there. I don't know how they do that. Are they standing there, one dude holding this thing closed and then welding it, or is it done by robot? But these are definitely fingerprints, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, there's no robot with fingerprints like that. They wouldn't leave. It honestly looks kind of like toe prints. I don't know what somebody's doing there.
This is just standing on doors. Yeah, I don't know either. So I do want to strip these two down. So essentially what we're going to do is quickly go through with barkeepers. I just want to quickly show you guys, in case a panel doesn't come out absolutely perfect, maybe you start getting some high spots. Now, high spots is not something we talked about. Alyssa, do you know what a high spot is?
Nope.
Okay, so a high spot is essentially when you're wiping this down after it's ready to come off, is say like up here in this area, you're wiping on this and you miss this spot. Jesus, good Lord.
It's me.
Tesla, turn this thing down like 100 decibels. They went to literally 11 on the quacks or the sounds there. My brain can't even think now, that was so loud. But essentially what's gonna happen here is if you have a spot, it's gonna cure, and it's a high spot. So if you think about it on like how the coating is, you want a coating like this and it's level, then you bump up, that's a high spot. So you have a lot of solids here just sitting there. Now, of course, we got those all off. Alyssa, my question to you would be, how hard do you think this is, honestly?
I don't think it's hard at all, but I think it is overall hard to probably, if you're a perfectionist, if you're thinking that it's going to come out the way it looks on pictures, likelihood it's probably not on at least a couple of the panels, just depending on how much you researched before, if you watch this video or not. But
would you do this yourself, I guess? Okay, so no. I think that's an important point. Now, I think a lot of people are kind of that DIY guy, and we have a lot of weekend enthusiast detailers out there, and I think that's great. Do I think this is something everybody can do with patience and really trying to teach themselves? Absolutely. Now, my question to you, Alyssa, would you do this yourself, or would you pay to have somebody do this to your truck?
Okay, so my first question always comes down to, how much would it cost for me to install it versus how much would it cost to have you to install it?
And honestly, I have no idea, because I haven't really gone through this whole process of doing a Cybertruck, and I don't even know how much material I'm using on this. So let's just say, for example, I go through 2 bottles of coating. It's 180 bucks right there. Now I have my time involved of doing barkeeper's friend. Realistically, I think if we were just talking stainless steel here, you could get it done within a day to a day and a half, depending on how bad it is. Our Cybertruck was pretty nasty, so it needed quite a bit more love and attention going into the barkeepers. I don't know. I need to think on pricing on this.
But what would you say an average hourly rate would be?
So average hourly rate in detail shops is typically between 75 bucks and 100 bucks, and it very much ranges. The problem with ceramic coatings is there's so many out there. So you can absolutely walk into a detail shop and get a $500 coating, or you can walk into another detail shop and pay $4 or $5 grand to have everything done. But like on our Cybertruck, if I were doing this for a customer, it'd be a little bit different. I would coat the stainless steel, all the black plastic trim down below. I'd coat the wheels. I'd clean up the suspension, do the interior, do all the glass, do everything on how it should look from day one. But if you're just doing this, realistically, I think you should be anywhere between 600 and 1,000 to do it properly, maybe. I'm just kind of thinking about time I would have in this, maybe, I don't know, 6 to 8 hours. What do you think?
That's a lot of time. I mean, I think on average, I would say maybe around 80 to 100 bucks an hour if it takes you 80. Yeah, that's around 800 for products, an extra 200. So yeah, I would say roughly it would cost around $1,000 for a decent person or professional to do it. Versus, I mean, you can shop around. Everybody's gonna have different pricing. There's no such thing as this is the pricing for everything.
Yep.
So obviously, it is cheaper to do it yourself. It
Of
always
course
will
it
be
is.
cheaper to do
Yeah.
it yourself. But it's just a matter of fact, if you're particular, if you really want this to go on well. And I think the big thing to note is that even if it doesn't go on well, you can take it off
Yep.
and you can try again, and it is still cheaper. And you're learning again to do it. But if you just have the time and energy and passion, then
Yep.
go for it. But if you're like me, not a huge car person, I don't think I would spend several hours doing this stuff because I won't even build IKEA furniture. So
Sure. And this is totally different than building IKEA furniture. But I still, in my business now, I've had quite a few people reach out and say, hey, I want my Cybertruck quoted. Now, I had just recently talked to a guy locally here in Denver who was very interested in getting a coating. And I said, hey, let's kind of go through this. And, you know, with the stainless steel, I may like to have a second truck of a truck that's not abused like Kyle and Alyssa do. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. These vehicles are quite literally to make content for you guys to watch, to take off-roading, to
and
push
it also
them to the
has
limit.
like how many thousand miles on it already?
12,000 miles on
Yeah,
this.
so I mean, if you're doing something like this, obviously you're doing it immediately. You're not going to
Yeah,
wait
exactly.
12,000 miles and 2 cross-country road trips before you say, oh, hey, now I want my $100,000 truck
Exactly.
to look good.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think this is definitely DIY friendly. I think anybody can really do this if they're patient with it. Now, your environment, again, plays a big role into this. Do not do this outside. Absolutely do not do this in your driveway. It's 80 degrees outside. If you have space inside, definitely do it there. I know a lot of people don't even park their Cybertrucks inside because it's stainless steel and they're like, it doesn't matter. It's not going to get hail damage or whatever. So let's get these 2 doors stripped over here, Alyssa. I'm pretty happy with how this is coming out. I know you got to get rolling here, so let's get those done. Are you ready to strip now? Yes.
Let's strip it.
So I actually haven't even done this, Alyssa, so I don't know if it's going to work. It definitely will work. So I'm just going to apply this on here. Yep, already taking it immediately off. I can see it turn bright silver yet again. Now, the whole purpose of this is to remove this coating if you've messed it up. Now, you're just going to come through, quickly hit this with Barkeepers. Again, Barkeepers is an acid. It also has some compound abrasives. So this is no different than removing a ceramic coating from paint. If you got high spots on it, you can always go back in with polish on a microfiber pad or polishing pad. Go in there, hammer it down. I'm just going to do this top section. I'll hit this little coating high spot over here. Now, of course, after this, I'm going to be doing the entire truck yet again, but I want to get everything even. I want it to look as nice as possible. So just need to get this stripped down. Boom.
Yeah, that does come off very, very easy.
So next we still need to do our Windex wipe down. Boo-to-do. I've
Did
never...
you ever think that you were going to have a lifetime supply of
No,
Windex and Barkeepers?
I did not.
As a detailer?
You know, the funniest thing was when I was down in Austin, I was starting to get a little frustrated because I'm like, every single detailing product that I use on Cybertruck doesn't work. It looks terrible. And then I just realized, really, honestly, most detailing products just don't work at all. So Alyssa, come over here real quick. You can already see how different that looks. It took it immediately off.
Yeah.
So no
Easy
problem
does it.
removing it at all.
And then this one's been cured for at least a couple days, no?
I think I coated this on Monday and it's Sunday now, so 6 days.
So it's really hung on there, and I mean, he obviously hasn't done this whole door, but you can already see this one. If I get out of my shadow, little area here where it is just coming off. So very
Yeah, let me just do
user-friendly.
this right in here because I wanted to redo this door anyway. So I'm going to give it like bare minimum. Again, the Windex, just crazy how much you use of that. Boom, and it's right off. So no problems there.
Yeah.
Looks good. So I think what I'll do, Alyssa, the rest of the video, I'm going to get these 2 doors completely stripped down. Now I did want to look actually quickly over here.
But
I
if
don't
it's
see those spots.
Okay, I got a question. If it's so easy to strip, what's to say that me running it through the car wash isn't going to strip all of this stuff?
Great
that I've
question.
worked on?
So ceramic coatings are chemical resistant. So the issue with this is basically in the bottle, in the soft cleanser of Barkeepers, you have an acid, which is very harsh on ceramic coatings. So actually, if you sprayed this down with a very strong acid, it would take the coating off. Now, I don't exactly know where this sits from alkaline to, how acidic it can get on the pH scale, what's actually gonna remove this. But the big deal with this is having the compound in it, the abrasive. The abrasive is what's actually taking it off here. So very similar to painted surfaces. If I go over a ceramic coating with a polisher, it takes it immediately off.
Gotcha. So you don't have to worry about bringing it through a touchless wash.
Yes and no. I mean, a lot of touchless, we're very lucky here in Colorado because we have something called auto wash. Now, actually, a guy who used to work for Adams Polishes, then worked for Rupes Polishers, now runs part of the area here at Auto Wash. Now they use all ceramic coating, safe chemicals. Everything they use there is top-notch quality. And then you can go to another pay and spray in town, Alyssa, and they're gonna be using very acidic because the whole rationale behind that is they're not touching the vehicle or car and want to get as much grime off, so they have to use quite harsh chemicals that can harm certain coatings. It just really depends on what they're using. Some of that stuff can be a little nasty for sure.
Okay.
So,
Yes and no.
what are you thinking?
I mean, it really is just impressive how easy that comes off. But for me, as a customer consumer, that honestly almost worries me.
I can do that in 2 seconds to this car that's been coated for 3 years.
Really?
Yeah, same thing.
Okay.
I can take a
So
little,
it's just a coating thing.
a little piece of polish on a microfiber, take it right off, and it's completely gone.
So then why are they last so long for so many years if, quote unquote, you could wipe on and wipe it off?
Well, you can't because you're using abrasive. So think about it as like, say you have paint on here and you can wipe it with a towel 1,000,000 times, but the minute you grab sandpaper and do that and it's gone, that's kind of what I'm getting at. So those abrasives take off the coating here. Coatings are not something you can just wipe away.
Okay.
Again, this car's been coated for 3 years now. It's still beating up exactly how it should. And this is not a coating that I even use anymore, but it still looks fantastic. Now, again, I don't know what this is gonna do. Is this coating gonna last a month? I have no idea. I have read nothing online about DIY metal coating. Does it last 10 years? Does it last 5 years? Does it last 2 years or a year or 6 months? I honestly don't know. So this will be a good test bed to see, what does a truck that lives outside, that gets off-roaded, that isn't properly washed by just running it through car washes all the time, actually gonna look like. It'll be a perfect test. And if it looks terrible, I'm definitely gonna tell you guys, and hopefully there's something else out there that looks good. I don't know.
Got it. Understood. All my dummy questions are done.
They're not dumb questions at all. I know a lot of people ask these, and I think it's great. And honestly, I think you need to come on the channel more for some more DIY perspective, because I get really into this and like flash times and cure times, and you got to do this, this, and this. And I think a lot of it goes over most people's heads, which is understandable. It's taken me 10 years to be able to present this. It's a whole different ball game. I can work on cars, but then telling you specifically how to do it when I'm not physically doing it is definitely a new challenge for sure. So I'm thrilled with how, the hood's looking. This door definitely needs to come off though.
Yeah. So yeah, I would agree. The hood is fine. Good. But I knew that from the get-go that I did something wrong. So it was very, very obvious.
And what about this panel? What do you think up here? Because I'd say that one looks kind of the best.
Yeah, I would say this one's the most.
It's just consistent. And,
consistent.
And that's just down to install slightly. So, I mean, the front one that I did, I put too much on. So again, it's just, you got to really work with the product and see and learn and feel of what's going on. So yeah, I genuinely think anybody can do this. Just be patient with it. Work in small sections. Don't try and do the whole side of the truck at one time. You could definitely get yourself into trouble with that. So, spent all of 5 minutes getting these two doors stripped down. Alyssa, how's it look now?
It looks good. I mean, it was pretty amazing how quickly that came off. And it came off so quickly and so easily. that you actually went a little far above and beyond.
I made a mistake for sure. So that panel prep on there. Now this is a solvent-based chemical that's going to remove sealants, waxes. It's going to strip anything off. Now what it also does is strip off ceramic coating that had been applied 30 minutes ago because it's heavily alcohol based in there. So I was wiping this door down and I accidentally went up here and there was this huge silver mark and I realized, oh my God, I just destroyed this panel. So I just wiped all of this down with panel prep, completely gone. So you may be able to quickly, if you screw up a section, just use panel prep on it, but honestly, not that bad. Now, Alyssa's got to run. She's got to go take care of the dogs. I'm going to finish coating the truck. So actually we only have 2 panels coated right now, Alyssa. We have the hood and the front bumper. So I've got still a lot of work to do. Now I am going to continue filming this. I'm going to do a full time lapse coating the entire truck. I want to give a huge thank you to Alyssa because I think this is a great video to have a little bit of fresh perspective on DIY friendly, because half the time I think this stuff is so easy. It's second nature to me. I'm like, anybody can do this. So huge thanks to Alyssa for doing that. She asked some great questions. Speaking of questions, do you have any more?
No, I think I've talked enough.
Yeah, these are long videos.
Yeah,
this is what we do.
It's the out of spec way. And I think I got all my points across and really learned a lot about why and how and what clear coating does for any car, whether it's this refrigerator or this big monster boy. So, I mean, all in all, I do think it's super user friendly, DIY friendly, and I think that's the most important, and that's the grab from this whole video, is that some average Joe like me can coat their Cybertruck if they wanted to coat it. My biggest tip is obviously don't wait 12,000 miles to do it. And also, if you are scatterbrained like I am, just pop all the doors open, and then once you do a door, close a door, because you might forget and wipe it off like Coleton just did, or you're talking on the phone with whomever and while you're doing it, passing time, and you just, whoops, you forgot. So I think that's the hardest part for me, is to know what I've done versus what I haven't done without really, I mean, you see it within the light and the differences. This is more of a
It's still
silvery.
Not that different. Like you said, and you've said this multiple times, walking up to the truck, I don't think you're going to necessarily notice that it's been coated. It's just slightly more yellow, which again, I'm not sure that I care too much either way. I really like how bright this stainless is, perfectly cleaned and not coated, but I just think it's going to be a nightmare to keep clean. So again, I will put this out there. If any of you have a Cybertruck here in Colorado, you're not planning on ceramic coating it, and maybe you're going to leave it 6 months without a vinyl wrap on it, I will gladly do the barkeeper's friend Windex solution for you completely for free. And then I want to see how it goes, you know, over 6 months time period, and see how dirty the truck actually gets. So huge thanks to Alyssa. I'm going to throw you guys on the time lapse now, get the entire truck coated, and I'll finish this video up. Well, we are done, and I'm thrilled with how this came out. So lots of thoughts throughout this. Now, I did a few things a little different. As you guys saw in the first time lapse, I coated this panel and this panel, and I was like, you know what, while I'm waiting, let's just do the rear door and the rear panel back there, and basically the entire side of the truck. Now, would I recommend this for a DIY guy? I would say you could get away with it, but you may get yourself into trouble. Now, I didn't see any issues per se with it, but it definitely got to the point where I was starting to feel a little rushed. And typically when I'm ceramic coating cars, I don't want to feel rushed. I want to make sure I take my time through it. You're spending the time, the money to get a ceramic coating installed or installing it yourself. You want to make sure it's done right. So typically, like if I'm working on a Raptor back here, I'm going to do half the hood, wipe that down, move to the next half. So just for example, this is a lot of panels to work with. Now, I definitely think, as you guys saw me do, opening up the doors, if you're going to do it one at a time, makes a lot more sense, especially when you're wiping into adjacent panels. One thing I am glad to see is if you do get a little coating, say you coated this, wiped everything off, you go to this door, get a little coating on here, doesn't seem to make a difference to it. So I really like that. Now, what you guys also saw me do on the other side of the truck here is actually coat it two different ways. Now, over here, when Alyssa was here, we were doing cross-hatching motions. Now, I also went in and did just a single movement on these, I guess, 4 panels here. And I almost maybe seem to like that more, but I can't tell that there's a difference on either side. It's not like, oh, the crosshatch looks completely different from this side. I'm still learning and experimenting with this coating. I really cannot tell you guys from trying a coating once or twice exactly how it's going to work, because humidity is different, temperature is different. Every Tesla Cybertruck is going to be slightly different as well. Now, let's talk about my thoughts and feelings on the actual ceramic coating, and do I really recommend it? Now, I would personally say, yet again, I know I've said this, it's been a long video. I do really enjoy the very bright nature of an uncoated Tesla Cybertruck. I think it looks brilliant, but I also think once you see the entire truck done like this, having that more warm glow to it also looks, in my opinion, kind of how the Tesla Cybertruck should actually look. I think it looks really nice. It's awesome to see it all cohesive. Now, again, you guys will still notice areas like this banding here. I think that is just deep into the stainless steel. You also notice some areas like back here where it looks slightly darker. And I'm telling you, this is not due to the coating. This is due to how they actually sand the truck. So I have talked about this. This is not a normal stainless steel where you have grain moving, you know, east to west type of deal. It is all over the place. It's basically DA haze. So if you come up here, it's kind of a twisted look to it. And I've seen a lot of photos of Cybertrucks, especially in the sunlight, where this panel has like literally zebra stripes in it. So I think if you do coat one of those, it's going to stand out more. There's so much more to unpack here with Cybertruck. So that's what I'm getting at. Now, again, I really think the ceramic coating is going to be the way to go here. Now, you guys need to understand that are purchasing these trucks and wanting to coat it with something like DIY detail. I think once Cybertruck gets more evolved, gets more out there, we're going to see a lot more things come out for these. So there's going to be definitely more coatings for the stainless steel on here. But I got to say, in May of 2024, I think DIY detail is the best ceramic coating for your truck. Now, that's a big statement there because I haven't even seen how this stuff performs. But to me, I'm liking what I'm seeing. My 10 years of experience of working with ceramic coating and vehicles, I really think this is going to be a good solution. So let's talk about cure time here. If you guys have made it through this incredibly long video, I understand these are long, but this is the way we do it at Out of Spec. These are not 10-minute videos going, boom, here's how you do one panel, blah, blah, blah. On you go. We really get into the weeds with this stuff, so I hope you guys absolutely appreciate that. Now, with curing, 24 hours is pretty traditional of keeping it out of the elements. You don't want to do this, stick it outside out night and get a big rainstorm on it. You really want to let this coating bake on here. Now, the funny thing is, I just quickly went to wipe off the hood that has been coated, I would say for about 2 to 3 hours, and you can definitely feel this versus that panel over there on the side I just coated. This is already starting to harden up, so I think that'll be great. Now, I would really probably not recommend washing with chemicals for around 6 to 7 days. So I would look at the weather forecast if you're planning to do this at home and go, hey, if I have another vehicle to drive, great. You can kind of leave this alone for a few days, let it cure up, let it see how it's going to be. I mean, you guys saw 6 days after I coated this rear door back here, spraying water on it, looked completely fine. Very impressed with that. So there's going to be many more videos coming with the Cybertruck. Again, very early days here. And I want you guys to understand that I'm doing the best I can to do my research to apply these coatings and, you know, different chemicals to the trucks. And I think I'm at the point where I found a good solution, but I'm not opposed to other solutions. If there's something better out there that works, I'm going to test it, I'm going to try it, and I'm going to tell you guys about it. So stay tuned to this channel if you have a Cybertruck. For right now, I think spending 90 bucks on a bottle of this works great. And speaking of that, I actually did make it through the entire truck with a single bottle. Now, the guys over at DIY Detail said that if there's enough demand for this product, they'll make a 50 mil. Now, I'm kind of under the impression I like to have coatings a little bit thinner instead of huge, thick coatings. Protect Clear. Yeah, talk about that. So that's kind of my impression. You can definitely use more, and if you have to redo a few panels, probably nice to have a 50 ml bottle or a second bottle, but I really think a lot of folks definitely can do this on their own. Very impressed. So thank you guys for making it this long in the video. As always, if you're interested in getting your car done by me here at Clear Detailing, there's a link in the description below to my website. You can reach out to me there. If you have any comments, questions, I will see you guys down in the comment section below. What do you think of the finish here on the out of spec Cybertruck? I'm pretty thrilled with it, but we'll see you in the next one soon. Bye-bye.